Hi, I'm Steve Heaton. I am the course director and instructor at Y-kiki Divers in St. Louis, and today we're going to introduce you to your first computer. It's the Y-kiki VEO 1.0. Now, when I started diving, and a lot of your instructors started diving, we used this. It's called the Recreational Dive Planner, or the RDP. It was a great device. It had all these different numbers and slots and things on it, and we had to learn a little bit of math to deal with it. That's a little bit confusing. Then we learned about multi-level diving, and we used this little device called the wheel. It was a lot more fun to use, but it was also a little bit challenging. We learned about touching and piercing arrows. It was a little bit more complicated. It still worked. Then we got into the digital age, and we learned how to use the ERDPML. This was basically a calculator that did everything those other two devices did, but they did it digitally, so it was much easier to work with. However, errors could be made. There was a little bit of a learning curve. So with you guys, you're going to get to use your first dive computer, and again, it's the Y-kiki VEO 1.0. This section is primarily for Y-kiki instructors and dive masters, and just gives you a little more background on the computer, on the Y-kiki VEO 1.0. And it's just some stuff that you guys, you may or may not know, but it'll reinforce it. Of course, it's a one-button computer. There's only two functions that button has. One is just press and release. One is push and hold. If you have students diving in rich air, or at the beginning of a dive, if you suspect they've been playing with their computers a little bit, it's not a bad idea to go in and check to make sure that they are set for air. To go to the next screen, I'm going to press and hold. The default to 50%, and you all understand if they're diving in rich air, you want that to be in the on position. The next screen is the partial pressure of oxygen, or PPO. You want to see and make sure that that's set to 1.4. The next screen set to turn on when it's wet, so you want to make sure that that is flashing on. So if they forget to turn a computer on, as soon as they get in the water, it will turn on automatically. The next screen, and some of you may or may not be aware of what that is, that DS stands for deep stop. So you can actually plan deep stops with this computer, which should not be happening in your open water classes. This is a dual algorithm computer. So what that means is you can set this computer for the DSAT algorithm, which is where it should be set. And that's the PADI recommendation is DSAT. It's a very liberal algorithm, so it allows us for plenty of bottom time. If it's flashing DSAT and you press it, it goes to the PZ, or the Z algorithm. That Z algorithm is a little more conservative. If you have divers who are not fit, if you're planning colder water diving, or if you have somebody diving a very conservative computer, this is the perfect algorithm for it. So you can change it, change the algorithm. We're going to leave that set on the DSAT algorithm. The last screen you get to is the serial number screen. It says SN, and then it has the computer serial number. If you just press that button, you will see the Clear ID screen. If you need to clear off dive history, you have to get to this screen. So once you've done that, you see those 4 zeros. Press and hold the button. You're going to see the first 2 set of zeros flash. Hit the button once and release. You'll see 0, 1. Now you can press and hold again. You're going to see the second 2 set of zeros flash. Press the button once. You'll see 0, 1, 0, 1. At that point, you can press and hold the button, and you're going to see a blank screen. Once that screen is blank, you can push the button. It turns on, the numbers scroll down, and you should be on the surface mode screen right now. Please inform your students if a computer fails underwater, if a battery would die, or some other failure. At that point, they should surface immediately, take time to do a safety stop, come up to the surface, get out, and then at that point, if they have a backup, great, they can continue diving. Otherwise, at that point, they should stay out of the water 24 hours until they get the replacement. So recommendations for computer failures. Additionally, if they have a battery compartment flood on the computer, the battery compartment is separate from the computer. So if you see water in the battery compartment, it's important to take that battery cover off right away, drain the water out, dry the battery off and the compartment, and then put a new battery in when it's dry and make sure it gets sealed well. If you do that before the battery leaks, we save the computers because they are separate compartments. This computer is a user changeable battery, which is a really nice feature if you know how to change the battery. If it's available and you have the tools and the ability and a dry environment to do it in, it's possible to change the battery out. The computer will retain its information for a period of time with the battery removed, but it's important that if the battery dies or it's getting low, if you need to change it out, do it in a dry environment. I would recommend having it done professionally, but no matter what, make sure it's a dry environment. Make sure you have a good O-ring to replace it with, a good clean O-ring, a little dash of silicone to go with it, and the correct spanner key to take the back off. I usually have two computers on, both of them wrist computers. And they're both air integrated. So I get rid of the high pressure hose, but I dive with two wrist mount computers. I also keep an RDP in my pocket with a wristwatch. So if I have a failure, I have a few backup plans.